One of the major problems of marketing and sales, whether it's B2B or B2C, is simply that most people are not ready to buy. It doesn't mean they won't buy. It just means at a particular time, there's only a small percentage of people that are actually ready to buy. Unfortunately, in traditional marketing, most of the time, these people are simply ignored. Let's use a fishing analogy. If we think of customers as fish, what we want is the big fish. We want the fish that are large enough to cook and eat. They're the customers that are interesting to us as the marketer or the salesperson. However, when we're conducting marketing exercises, most of the fish that we will catch are too small, like this little guy here. In terms of prospects, these are people that are not ready to buy or simply want to make small purchases. And in traditional marketing, the little fish get thrown back, which means they get ignored. This is a tremendous waste. Doesn't it make sense to keep the fish in a fish farm and then feed the small fish until they're big enough to eat? That's the whole principle of a fish farm. Lead nurturing is the feeding process. It's how we take the small fish and feed them till they're large enough to eat. What you may not know about fish farms is that fish at different stages of their growth cycle need different feed as they grow. You can't feed them the same feed when they're very small to when they're nearing maturity. And the same goes with lead nurturing. Customers or prospects at different stages of the customer life cycle need different types of content. And that is what content's all about. In the nurturing process, content is the feed. It's critical to the engagement and development of our prospects. Now, as you can see, on the left, we have some B2C content. On the right, we have some B2B content. It's very different content and a very different content strategy, which makes sense because they're in two different species of fish. But the goal is the same. We're attempting to increase engagement with the customer until they're ready to buy. The question is, as a marketer, how do we know when they are ready to buy? If we go back to our fishing analogy, to test whether fish are large enough or mature enough to actually eat, we use a ruler. We simply measure the size of the fish. Measuring engagement is quite similar when we're talking about prospects. The way we measure the engagement of our prospects is by something called scoring. Scoring is used to measure the engagement in relative terms. Now, digital engagement can be anything from clicking an email, visiting a page, filling out a form, posting on social media, anything that indicates interaction with our digital marketing. And what we want to do with that is assign a score to this engagement. Then that allows us to compare different prospects and then have a threshold where we determine that yes, this prospect is ready to buy. Now, what does that look like over time? Now, this graph is measuring the score of a lead over time. The bottom axis is the date and the left axis is the lead score. Now, each dot is an interaction with marketing. So perhaps we're sending an email for each gray dot. The red dots is when someone clicks on the email and actually engages with our content. The whole point of content is that it must make measurable impact on the engagement over time. So if we look at the dollar signs when someone purchases, we should be able to assign the engagement moving with the actual purchase. Engagement must lead to sales, but also sales has to be reattributed to engagement so we know what kind of impact our marketing is having. And that's what scoring is for.